Hello, world. Welcome to Rex Arthur TV. This is the Rex Arthur Show where we discuss LGBTQ issues with LGBTQ approach and an LGBT perspective in an LGBTQ plus planet, and where each and every one of us belongs to one or two letters in the 10-letter sexual alphabet LGBTQIAAP. And today we're going to continue talking about um, the the critiquing the diversity delusion by Heather Macdonald, and this is from an interview that was conducted by Dave Rubin, and I love him for one thing. He's very intellectual, a gay intellectual, and I enjoy his shows because he brings a lot of people who discuss issues about that are dogging the world. And what I like about him is that he's freedom. He's a very liberal person, and he listens to every side, at least, and he will side with whomever he's agreeing with. He used to be on the left, and that's how I also got to know him. And I think the Trump presidency changed a lot of political philosophy in the world. And that's what you need to understand about America. America is a very important country because of it's a superpower. It is a superpower. Secondly, it's a superpower with English as its language. So China is going to be a superpower. But the biggest mistake China has made, it has not employed the English language to make its domination very strong. Secondly, China, its infrastructure, superpower infrastructure, is Western. Have you noticed something? I was talking to a friend of mine about the Chinese influence in Africa. And I told him, if you want to know the power that is ruling the world, look at the architecture, the current architecture in a country. Then you will know which power is controlling that country. So when the British or the Europeans colonized most of the world, they brought their architecture to Africa and to most of the third world. So this is why you can know European domination by the buildings that were built, the old buildings. They carry the Dorian designs and the Corinthian pillars and all of these Greco-Roman architecture that was taken to Europe, and then Europe took it to Africa. So you find most of the state houses and very beautiful mansions and buildings and banks carry European architecture. Same to America. You see America? It's a Eurocentric country because the White House, the Capitol Hill, the architecture is from Europe. It's Greco-Roman. So that tells you the spirit in that country is European and mostly Greco-Roman. And even in Africa, some of the great buildings, are European and Greco-Roman. So meaning the spirit dominating that country is actually European. Then China, when China now is building in Africa, and you see Chinese buildings, they are building European style architecture. If they were building pagodas, then we would say that the Chinese are really colonizing us. But in actual sense, they're building skyscrapers. That's a Western concept, a Western architectural concept. And they are building them. So what does it mean? The Chinese are just Western. Yes. They are just Western. So they are Western, but their mistake, as I'm telling you, I think, in my view, they don't use English in their domination. So in my view, they should use English so that if they use, and I know why they don't use English, because it is the language that the current superpower uses. That's America. So what was I trying to tell you? I was trying to tell you that because America is the dominant power in the world, its system affects us in every way. And so does the president. So when Obama was president, the world was very multicultural. It was very accepting of multiculturalism. And every election in America, believe you me, is very significant. Very. Because whichever way the election goes, it is going to affect the world economy. So when Trump became president, against the chagrin of very many people, it changed everything. It changed political philosophy. It brought new philosophy. Even 2020, the world is going to go through another change. It's because America is a very significant country. In fact, the most significant in the world. That's what you need to understand. The world, I want you to see the world like the human body. Do you know the most important part in the human body is the head? All the senses of the human body are found here. Sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touching. This is skin. We don't touch with hands, we touch with skin. All of them are found here. So if you chop off the head, the person is gone. So America is the head of their body. Yes, economically, politically, culturally. Yes, the American culture is all over the world. Movies, songs. So that's what you need to understand. It is the head. And is a superpower and military. That's why they spend so much on military power. It's because they're everywhere. They're everywhere. So, now, why is this important? I'm trying to show you what happened. You should even study YouTube from after 2016 and pre-2016. Study YouTube. Watch YouTube in the Obama years. And then now watch YouTube in the Trump years. You'll see a difference. One place to see the difference is the evangelical community. During Obama's years, the evangelical videos were about the world is coming to an end because the Antichrist is in the White House. And it happened for all the years Obama was there. Then when Obama left, then Trump came, who happened to be a president who most of the white evangelicals like. Those videos are gone. They are gone. They are no longer there. I was even looking for another one just to see whether he's still around. Not there. Not there. So what am I trying to tell you? Whoever becomes a president, he even shapes. He shapes the thoughts, the collective thought of the society. So with Trump's presidency, we are seeing more nationalistic academics. We are seeing more conservative academics rising. And we are seeing a lot of people attacking the liberal academia and attacking the leftists. It's sad. And then reality is even the worst, because the world is basically conservative. I told people to do a research. Look at how many people are conservative. If in a population there are very many conservative persons, then you can even predict who is going to win the election. Yes, I'm telling you. You don't need to be a prophet. Just give me the numbers. Give me the numbers of conservatives in a country and liberals. I will tell you. That's why America is a hotbed of political chaos. It's because 50% are conservative, 50% are liberal. If America was 80% conservative, don't even waste your time trying to find out who has won the election. It will be a Republican forever. If it was 80% Democrat, don't even waste your time. Don't even waste your time. A Democrat will be president forever in a situation where 80% are Democrats. But when you find the country has 50%, 49%, 48%, 47%, 46%, there, that one you can't predict. Predicting is a hard game in such a scenario because anyone can win the election. And that's how America is forever. America, you see why it's a ping pong? It's because one time the Democrats get many people, one time they get Republicans. The Republicans get the people. So like this is what happened with Trump. And 2020 is going to be hot. But the danger I'm seeing, Democrats are putting too many candidates. So in short, the Democrat Party is divided. Because naturally, you are supposed to have one leader who is espousing common ideas. But when you have very many people, it means you don't agree. And that one, I hate to say it, but I have to. That one will give Trump a second term. Because the Republican Party does not need to pick a candidate. They have one. It is Trump. Unless things change, with Mueller and everything, we don't know which way the wind is blowing now. And then you may find him leaving. But if the wind blows in his direction, he's going to get a second term with ease. Because the Democrats are divided. There are too many people. So we don't know what is the Democratic vision. You see why Obama won? Obama won because he had a vision. He was the only one who told people what he was giving them. Change you can believe in, And he gave a vision. And he was the only one. Hillary Clinton was like a shadow. She was not even being seen. It was Obama. So that's why the Democrats won twice with Obama. However, the Democratic Party collapsed under his watch for one reason. The Republican wing was now waking up. You see, when you're rising, your enemy also wants to rise and can even rise more than you. That's what you need to understand. The war of competition. When you're doing very well, don't think your enemy is going to sleep. He'll also want to do. So that's what happened to the Democratic Party. It's not that Obama was a bad leader. Very good leader. Very good. He diversified Democrats. The Democrats received a vision of diversity. And now Muslims are in the Democrat Party. Gays, the highest number of gays and lesbians and transgenders are in the Democrat Party because of their vision of being inclusive. And that's why I like the Democrat Party. I don't like Republicans for one thing. They are too exclusive. They believe it's only Christians who deserve to be in power. Yes, and that's I don't believe in that. I believe we should learn to work with everybody, include everybody, and people who are willing to agree to a common vision. Of course, you don't agree with a Muslim who doesn't also agree to inclusion. Yes. You don't need to agree with a Christian who doesn't support inclusion. But you agree with a Christian or a Muslim who supports inclusion. Now that one is my friend. Now we can work together. That's what I tell people. If you have people and they can't work with you, don't work with them. Just put them aside. Work with those who can work with you. Even if they are few, work with them. It's better than having everybody who can't work with you. You will go nowhere. So that's how I do my things. And that's how you run a political party. Don't put people... You see, that's why inclusion as a theory is also becoming a very important... it's a new concept. And it's very hard. So don't just swallow it. Okay, swallow it. It's the reality. But what I'm trying to tell you, be prepared for the backlash. Because some people are wondering, should we include everybody? Yes. You see, for a moralist, when you tell him inclusive, he thinks you even want to put the person who doesn't follow his morals. So that's what you need to understand. Language is so subjective. Because when somebody receives that data, he already has... His computer is wired differently. So when he hears inclusion, he's thinking about it differently from you. You who understands diversity and therefore are inclusive, you don't find inclusion as a bad word. But an exclusive person, when he hears inclusion, he gets scared. You see, one word, different reactions. That's the reality. Because they are used to being exclusive. You know, if you're a white person and you don't like being with black people, and then you hear the word, it's time to be inclusive, the white guy can have a heart attack, you know. I won't forget, what's his name? Dave Chappelle. He made me laugh. The best comedy scene he ever did in the history of Dave Chappelle. Of course, I know he has problems with transgenders, but that's understandable. Some humans don't understand certain things. But the one of racism, he really did it. And it was the issue of the black Klansman who was actually white. He pretended to be white. And when he revealed... and he was always wearing his hood, but he could speak like a white man. So all the Klansmen were so happy and they were wondering, who is this great orator that has come to the clan? And then they said, please, we want to see your face. We want to see your face. And when he removed the hood, the shock in that room is beyond explanation. And the guys, someone even killed himself. He could not believe it was a black man. And even Spike Lee, you see, he has won an award, an Oscar, for his wonderful movie, screenplay, The Black Klansman, and how a black person and a Jew went to know the inside outs of the Ku Klux Klan. Brilliant movie. Brilliant. So Trojan, it hurts. And he won, finally. Spike Lee, all these years of directing, people now listened to him properly. Yes, so what am I trying to say? I was just trying to say I was so happy with that Dave Chappelle thing, because he showed how people get so shocked when they see their enemies in their camp. They like, we're dead. So that's what you need to understand about life, is that inclusion, if you're an exclusive person and you meet your enemy because of that of the exclusivity, you're not able to work with them. And that's why I'm saying inclusion is not a very easy concept. It is coming up because Many people are subjective. Very few humans are inclusive. Yes, it's natural. It's natural. Some humans don't want to be in the presence of transgenders. It's okay. Yes. Some whites don't want to be in the presence of blacks. It's understandable. It's ignorance. So how do you solve the problem? I've always said it. Education. Educate people that this person behaves like that. This person behaves like this. This person is like that. Yes, it's education. That is the answer forever. And that's why we are doing videos. We are educators. All right. I can talk and talk. Let's finish this video. And we did in part 2, we saw how we were talking about structural explanations versus behavioral explanations, and we found out Heather prefers the behavioral, and she said something very important, that if blacks start which I also laugh at it. It's important because it's very interesting thinking that if blacks work and go to school like the Asians do it, and then they still structural racism, then she can believe that there's structural racism. So what she's trying to say is that the reason why blacks don't get a job in the system is because their behavior is our concern to those in authority or those who give people jobs. So like that's what she's saying, Asians get jobs. Reason being they've gone to school and they have studied. That is her assertion. And for me, I believe there could be one reason. One thing could be even genetically, Asians can understand the white system more easily than blacks. Secondly, Asian history is diverse, is not the same as black history. And that's what you need to understand. A black American is not a black African, historically speaking. The black American experience is so we are back discussing of course we were discussing how what we discussed in part 2, and there was the fact that the structural differences and the behavioral, and I had to still reiterate what I was trying to say, that the black American is not necessarily an black African, because of the historical experience. So this is why Heather needed to understand the reason why Asians can get a job in America easily, even though there may be no racism. It's because the history of a black American has been riddled and dogged by racist laws. The Asian has not necessarily had racist laws over dogging their experience, their culture. And then even this is why the black Africans who go to America are succeeding. It's because, so as I was saying, the black American has a very different historic experience. Now, you must understand something about culture. Culture is experiential. So, the longer the time, cultures are built with time. So, when you have a very long time of a culture, you will have a very long, a vast vault of experience. That's what you need to understand. So cultures are actually a collection of experiences. Like you see, the Catholic Church is a culture because how they hold the Mass is how they have. It has been like that for thousands of years. That they have Holy Communion, they do this, they have a preaching. That's their culture. In Islam, do you see Holy Communion? No, it's not their culture. Their culture is every Friday we go to the mosque and we listen to the Imam giving a sermon. That is their culture. The LGBTQ culture, we also have a culture. You know, majority of us, not all of us, but majority of us go to the club to meet and get a hookup. You know, that's our life. That's our culture. And it's repeated over and over again, over and over again. So culture is about repetition. So the cultural experience of the black American in America has been one riddled with a lot of sadness because the culture was they were slaves. So you really have to understand the psychological impact of slavery on any human being. Even Russians, white Russians, they were slaves. They are Slavs. The word slave comes from Slav, the Slavonic tribes of Europe. They were the slaves of Europe. Western Europe, what you see today, has been there for thousands of years. The Western Europeans enslaved Eastern Europeans, the Slavs. That's why they were called Slavs. It means slave. Can you imagine? Yugoslavia is a Yugoslav state. Czechoslovakia, no, yes, Czechoslovakia, which is the other country that is Slavonic. All of these Eastern European countries are Slavonic, and all of them are poor. Only Russia tried because Russia had a monarchy, a capitalist entity. So the rest of the other Eastern European states, they were slaves, Slavonics. And that is what happens to poor people. Poor people tend to be enslaved. And that's what happened to the black Americans. They had to leave their home, taken away from their home for enslavement. So now what happens is because of that culture of enslavement, for many years, remember what I told you about, contrary to what people believe, a psychological being is physiological. So the psychological effect of slavery affects you even body-wise, even thinking. Have you seen children? Heather was just saying in the video in part 2 that truancy is very high amongst black children. But do you know why people? So you find out, why do children become truant? There's a point of they feel they are nothing. Nothing. So they don't think about going to school. You know, it's not working. I'm telling you, it's bigger than what even Heather is saying. Yeah? You know, she's just taking it in shallow. It's deep. It is all psychological and physiological. Because the parent of this boy, these truants, how old are they? 80% their parents were born in 1960. You see? 80%. The parent was born in 1960, 1970, 1980. Now you must understand, any black American born after Martin Luther King is the new black American. After the death of Martin Luther King is a new black American. All the others born before he was assassinated, before he was assassinated, They are the old black American. What do I mean by old? They know the pain of segregation. They know it. And it is, people are joking with psychology. It's very deep. Yes, and you have to understand it. You see, that's why Oprah and remember Maya Angelou, they don't even want to hear the word nigger. They don't even want to hear it. It is Maya Angelou that even said, it's not what you say or do that we remember. It's what you made us feel. So you just think this is coming from a black woman. You see? Yes, let's be real. We have to talk about this. Video is very, very great. It is really going to the heart of the matter, and that's why we are talking. So you see, Maya Angelou was saying it's the psychology, it's feelings, it's the emotions, it's what someone makes you feel about them. Of course, for me, how I now do, I call myself a healer for that, because it's very sad to live in a world where somebody makes you feel bad. So my answer to Maya Angelou is, okay, I've known this person makes me feel bad. What am I going to do about it? I have options. I can sit down and resolve my issues with that person, or I just avoid the person. Yeah, it's the saddest. Actually, when you think about her statement, it's sad. It's sad. It's sad. And that's why I took a different route now when I deal with homophobes. Because you see, when you meet a homophobe, you're not thinking about what he said or what he did. You think about what they make you feel. That is Maya Angelou's philosophy. You see. So, in short, if you take her philosophy seriously, it means don't stay with a homophobe. Go away from them. And for me, I'm a bit different because I believe we live in a diverse world. So even if I run away from homophobes, I'll meet another one where I'm going to live. Yeah, because the world is filled with everybody. Even those you don't like, they are there. So now what do you do? Are you going to live in another planet? No. So you try and create a system that allows us to engage with each other even if we disagree. And then we solve situations together even if we disagree. That's why we have houses of Congress and legislature. The world is going back to Greek democracy, whereby we will vote for ideas. We will not vote for party notions. It's disappearing. There I can prophesy. That is where we're going. We're going back to Greece. In Greece, you support somebody for what the idea looks like, not for which party he belongs to, not for his sexuality, not for his race, but for his ideas. That's where we're going. So let's continue with a bit of the video. So sorry I had to talk like that. And we are going on with the video. And let's go to another part of the video. Yeah, it's good sometimes to talk about these things. Yeah, reality. Who likes talking about reality? Very few people. So don't worry. Let's talk.
As any inner city kid can tell you, the Obama rule said you may not discipline black kids more. And as a result, kids are running amok in schools. They're attacking their teachers.
So basically you just put these arbitrary rules in that clearly don't fit what is actually happening, but it makes you feel good.
It makes you blame whites. Everything, it's all the product of white racism. So yes, I'm all for informal structure. If a family cannot do it, I mean, Aristotle, again, this gets back to the secular right thing. I hear that people say, well, how do you raise a moral kid without religion? Aristotle said virtue is habit. And I don't know, I was not raised in a religious family, but is it really the case that a parent says to his 5-year-old son, don't hit your 3-year-old brother because Jesus said not to? Or is it just, do not hit your 3-year-old brother? You know, I think the authority from parental authority is sufficient. And you acclimate children to a set of behaviors that are self-controlling, deferring gratification by just teaching this is how we behave and through the inculcation of habit. I don't think in raising children, I just can't imagine at what point you need to invoke the 10 Commandments. I think that a lot of these behaviors, the golden rule is something that Kant talked about as something that is pretty innate to a understanding that humans develop of what is needed to function in a relatively civil society.
Yeah, I have to tell you, this is such an example of why I love doing this show, because just an hour before sitting down with you, I don't know if you know him, but I had Dr. Everett Piper on, who's the president of Oklahoma Wesleyan University. And you guys probably agree on politics at like 99%.
I love Ruben. You see, Ruben is always listening to his people, and he's realizing. I like that last line, that 99% of what the professor, the other professor he interviewed, is in line with what Heather is saying. And let's just go back to what you said. Basically, even Ruben has to be very careful. If I were him, he should invite as many different people, because I hope he's not going to take the route of looking for supporters. Yes, I prefer being independent, whereby you invite both groups so that you can engage. And even Ruben shouldn't fear. Now let me give him some advice. He shouldn't even fear challenging some people's views. And I think, I don't know, it's just a by the way. How I would be conducting my interviews is, before I interview you, I will go through what you said. And then I will come and throw to you, give to you what your enemies are saying. And then you respond. That's how I think I would be doing my interviews. But I cannot force Ruben to do interviews the way I do interviews. So he's okay. I think his is more private, and I accept how his style. I like his style. But I think his style of interviewing people is getting us to know their view. That's why he said what he said right now, that he could listen to her and she sounds just like the guy he had interviewed. So you see, he's a listening interviewer. Yes, there are some interviewers who are like that, but they are very aggressive interviewers. I'm an aggressive one, because, and that's why I open up to everybody. I will even invite a homophobe and challenge them. Yes, you challenge them and you ask them, but doesn't it say, like Piers Morgan? Piers Morgan is a very aggressive interviewer. He comes with bullets against you. So if you're not prepared, you're done. So anyway, it's just diversity of interviewing. So some people tend to be passive. They are listeners. Like Ruben tends to be a passive interviewer. He just listens and he knows who you are. It's sweet. It's sweet. But Piers Morgan is aggressive. He will charge onto you and ask you, you said this. And are you really? That's how. So it's just by the way. So I just wanted us to talk about what she said in that part. And again, you see, it's still back to her problem. Let's discuss her problem. And then we are done with the video. Her problem is the white racism. That is what we are seeing from her. She's not happy with how people are attacking the white race. And this is the new thing, I told you, the philosophical thought that is accompanying the man in the White House. You see, why is it white nationalists came to support Trump recently? It's because they now have someone who may not really attack them. Yes, it's a fact. So because of that, the spirit, this is also spirituality. The spirit in the air is one of whites. Actually, what whites are saying, we are tired. You guys are blaming us forever, and we just had enough. We don't want it anymore. This white guilt is not part. We are tired of it. So that's what I'm hearing. I'm feeling is coming from Heather, because you see now she's saying that people are blaming black problems on the whites, and so she's calling it white racism. Now, what is the issue? As I've told you, the problem of conservatives is they look at things as behavioral. They don't look at them as structural. If you look at it as structural, the structural problem in America is that it was a system that was monocultural and even homogeneous, in the sense that the power structure was only by white men. That was the issue. Now, the problem that's happening in America, the country is becoming very multicultural. And multicultural has to do with race, even sexuality. When America started, was there the LGBTQ movement? Were there men carrying rainbow flags? There were none. The only class they knew was gender and race. Full stop. So the first foundation was white male. Now America has changed. It is a rainbow nation. So because it's a rainbow nation, there is a lot of rainbow philosophy. And this rainbow philosophy is countering the monolithic philosophy that existed in the founding parts of the nation. What was the monolithic view? That the leaders were white men. Now, America has just had a time of almost 10 years with a black president. Unheard of in the annals of history. American history. A country where a black person was a slave and not a person. It's very significant what happened in the Obama years. Now, Trump is in. He's not black, he's white. And it's like now they're trying to counter that narrative, the multicultural narrative, that America is multicultural. But it's impossible. It's too late. Look at Kamala Harris. She's multicultural. See? She's multicultural. That is the color of America. And who knows, she can be president. Yes. You're joking. You're joking. Smell the coffee. Someone won the popular vote in 2016. Now we're going to sound like a pastor. Someone won the popular vote. That's what Republicans need to understand. They didn't have the popular vote. It should scare them politically. Because if the popular vote goes to the Democrats again, this time they'll go to the Supreme Court. Things are hot. You have to understand this. These things are very hot. So, what I'm trying to tell you is, and then we're done with this part, is Heather should... I understand Heather's position. She's a white woman. So that one you can't take it away from her. And I think she's just telling you what she feels about all the rhetoric that is coming out, that you guys are hurting us, or the system is led by white men. So any problem, we're going to blame the white people. So that's her pain, and that's what we need to understand. What Heather should know is that there is no perfect system, whether it's led by whites or blacks. There is no perfect system. And so our job as academics and as intellectuals is to try and make the system better, not to make it perfect. It can't. It cannot be perfect. Just to make it better. Scandinavian countries are not perfect, but they have tried. Yes, they are not perfect. And of course, because in the Scandinavian countries, they have helped people come out of poverty, but they have made a sacrifice. They had to tax the population. Do you know how many Scandinavians are in Forbes list? You know why? The Scandinavian governments have made them to be so good in tax paying, it's impossible to even have a very rich person from those countries. Yes, very rich, stinking rich, Forbes rich. Impossible. That's the fact. So those are the pitfalls of the Scandinavian system. America is a very good country for a person to become rich. Extremely. And now with the tax reform, they're even smiling to the bank. However, if people are still complaining about structural poverty, then it means that structure must be modified to reduce poverty. And if you have to keep the rich people, then modify the system to make everybody rich. And therefore the rich will become richer, but the poor are also becoming rich. That one is okay. I have no problem with that. The problem we were having, and that one now will be a model that can be copied by very many countries in the world that don't want the Scandinavian model, because the Scandinavian model, its weakness or the problem, or what many people don't like about it, is the taxation. There's too much taxation. So because of that, rich people, you can't have a country of very rich people. And when you don't have very rich people, you don't have entrepreneurs. You don't have people who create jobs. So basically in Scandinavian countries, it is the government that is the employer. And many countries that have the American model don't like that. Because the American model of economy is, it's not necessarily the government that's the employer. It is the rich people. Yes, America is a capitalist system. It was all about rich men having enterprises. The railway system in America was started by a rich man. Mining, rich man. Then, when the telephone was made, telephone companies were born. You see? All of these things. Oil companies, drilling. American oil, the oil was not being drilled by the government, like what happens in most countries. It was individual men who started companies that started drilling oil. That's what made America very rich. It was a country led by individuals. So that's the system. So individuals can create jobs. Yes, you don't need a government. You just need a rich person to create jobs for people. So you see, that's the game that is being played, That's why you don't have to tax people to give people jobs or to make life better. All you need is entrepreneurs who have the right environment to create goods and use humans to work, pay them. You've given those humans a job and you're done. So that's the capitalist model of economics. The socialist model is the government is the one that helps people to have a job. So what I can tell Heather is that there's no perfect system. Even the capitalist system has problems. The socialist system has problems because we are humans. We have problems. Don't look at me and think I have no problems. I have weaknesses. I was even talking to somebody and I just told them, no, just understand human beings. We have problems. We have weaknesses beyond your understanding. And it's only control freaks that want to change people. I don't believe in that philosophy of changing people. Not me. I've left it. I left it with the church. Most Christians like that. They like changing people. I don't believe it because this is what I believe in. When you have a problem, be told that there's a place you can get help. Like drug problem, people who have drug abuse, I don't attack them for being a druggie. Yes. So that when he's overcome by drug use, he can go to the rehabilitation center. Yes. Because there are people who take marijuana and they are not affected. Life is going very well. Very well. So what does that mean? The drug is not the problem. It's the person who used it that may be overcome by the use. Alright guys, so let's go to part 4. This is part 2 we've done, and we'll finish the whole video in part 4, hopefully.